so tiny. I'm gonna go back. Do you guys like it in there? It's warm? Yeah. It's good. Hi, my little alien. Hi. Yeah? Hi, pretty princess. Hi, pretty princess. What are you doing? I'm breaking out. Hi, little lady. Hi, little lady. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Hi. Oh! Hi, Baba. Hi. Thingy. Hi. Hi, little boy. Hi. How are you so adorable? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You're so cute, buddy. Hi. Where are you going? Are you trying to escape? You silly. He's a silly boy. He's a silly boy. Help! Let me out of here! Let me out of here! What's your brother doing? Is he trying to be cute? Is he trying to be cute? Look at them eat the meats. They know what's up. They know what's up. gram carnivores. Look at those itty bitties. Look at those itty bitties. Get him. Get him. What is he doing? Bite him. Show him who's boss. Little belly. How are you so little? What are you doing, monkeys? What are you doing? Are you sleepy? Forrest, be nice to your sister. Be nice. Be nice. What are you doing, goofball? Okay. Bubba, are you gonna clean your face? Or do I have to? Say no, Beth. No. Hey, Bethany. Hi. What are you doing? Are you being cute? Oh my goodness. Do you have some dewormer lipstick on? You do. See, Mama was mean. She gave me yucky stretchies. Get him, little girl. Hi, Papa. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, Papa. It's okay. Medicine. Now asleep. Oh, hi. That's your center of attention. Yeah. Does the world revolve around you, Forrest? It does. Oh my goodness. Effie, where's your brother? Where's Linky? Effie, where's your brother? Where is he? Oh my goodness. You sleeping on him? Where's little Linky? Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Where did you learn to be so cute? Where did you learn to be so cute?